Hello everybody and welcome back to the show at night, season 2. And here, without further ado, is your star and host, Josh Beckish! Skidoo-bop-a-doo-day, oh-ba-doo-ba-dee-day, skidoo-bop-a-boo-do, up-ba-ba-da-bop. Here's Josh!
Hey everybody, how's it going? We are here live from the Real Studio. This is not painted together through Zoom. This is the real deal. We're back. We're in studio. Watch, look. That was
noise
real.
made by hands.
Well, here we are.
That's
Byron,
it. You did a fabulous job of getting the studio set up.
Thank you.
It's really fantastic.
Thank you, and I'm glad that you offered that praise.
Willingly, without any coercion at all.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
And I feel very nice about that.
Well, it's heartfelt.
Oh, and I can feel it right here in my heart. Everybody, welcome. We're back. As you can see, we've got a new setup. As you can also see, it's a work in progress, but we're working on it. We'll figure something out. I'm trying to figure out exactly what our best look would be.
Right.
With something behind
The
us.
branding is still evolving.
Yeah. We're still trying to figure it all out. There's a lot of things we're trying to figure it all out.
But we're really happy to be here.
We're really
it's
happy.
Exciting.
Yeah, it's very cool. We wanted to bring the show back in this capacity, so it'd be a little bit more, a little bit more homey, a little bit more flowy, if you choose to say.
Real human interaction.
Yeah.
We have a chair to my right, and your right too, but a little further to your right.
And once we have a cameraman, we'll be able to pan over and show you things like that.
But that
Trust
chair
me.
would be for other human beings to join us.
Yes,
Right.
gradually in a social distanced manner until that's not an issue anymore. We will be able to have people on
6 feet apart if necessary.
Yeah, but and if so, we'll still have interviews over Zoom like we were doing.
Which we have one coming up tonight.
We have one for you tonight. Very, very special interview we did. If you've seen the movie School of Rock,
Who hasn't?
Well, of course, everybody
Right.
has.
Classic film.
You've probably seen her. She played Katie. She was the bass player in the movie.
Cello.
Which she hates, by the way, and you'll find that out during the interview.
I can only imagine how many times she's heard that.
Oh, according to her, millions. Rivkah Reyes will be on the show tonight. We're very excited to bring you that. Very good.
Delightful individual.
Very, very good person, good interview. Our goal coming back was to keep the shows a little shorter.
Right.
But there's so much good stuff in this interview. We're just going to, for the most part, just let it run. We will have
She has a lot to offer.
She does, yeah. Very insightful,
She's very woke, wouldn't you say?
She's very woke.
Yes.
Very in-depth look into what the real life stories are of these people that become actors young and then have to deal with that as they progress and grow and become adults and learn about themselves and who they are. So, it's
sure that presents a unique set of challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
As a young person.
Yeah, it's not all the glitz, glamour, and fun stuff you see. There's a lot of struggle behind the scenes, and we're gonna find that out in just a little bit when we bring you that interview. But since we've been gone, Byron, how are things?
Things are pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
I've been focusing for the last several months on what this shift in the world has brought to me, as opposed to what it has taken away.
Huh.
So it's some positive thinking, and my life has been changed in some very positive ways over the last several months. I don't want to get into details right now. We don't have time.
Right.
We have a guest tonight. We can bring the audience into our world on another occasion. But thank you for asking.
Yeah.
How have things been with you?
Things have been good. As you can see, working on the new setup, working on the new studio, working on a new season.
Yes.
We have a lot of things we're going to bring to you.
So much happening.
We're kind of going to step away, besides this episode, and probably, to be honest, most interviews will be the longer segments going forward. I feel like when you get a chance to interview somebody and talk to them about things that are important to them or interesting, there's no reason to cut them off.
No.
So those
Who are we to edit their thoughts?
Exactly. So
Right.
I'm not here to try to figure out what is and is not interesting or important that somebody has to say. But we will have just a lot of bits, a lot of shorter episodes, a lot of just focusing on one thing, so you guys can just scroll through them and enjoy what we have to offer. But
we hope to entertain.
We do hope to entertain.
Yeah,
Lots
bring
coming
joy
up.
And happiness to the world.
Lots coming up. We'll try to for sure get episodes out on Wednesdays. Is going to be the new thing, but we'll also.
Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, no problem. We'll also probably be bouncing around, just throwing some stuff out there if we feel like it. A lot of bonus stuff coming up for you guys. So
bonus footage, outtakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
we got it all.
Yeah.
So that's what's happening. That's what's going on with the new season, and I think we just jump right into it.
Let's get to the interview because there's a lot of content there, and she's a fascinating woman.
Yes, a lot to talk about. Some of you might have seen there's a big article in the New York Times about her recently.
We had her first, by the way.
We did. They did a great interview with the New York Times. They did a great interview with us. They did a great interview with several people that I've seen. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The show at night is officially back on the airwaves, and we have our first big interview of this new season. You might remember her from a little movie called School of Rock back in the day, and now she's doing all kinds of other stuff everywhere. On stage and online and all that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Rivkah Reyes to the show.
Yay! Thank you for having me.
Oh, hey, thank you for being on. This is our big season 2 premiere week, so we're very excited to have some hot stuff to start with.
Oh, thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor to be here.
Well, great. And like I said, most people do remember, you were Katie in School of Rock, which was a very cool movie. I thought just besides the fact that it was, very funny and all that, like, it was just a really great movie. And the music in it is like really actually very, very good. So like, I know you knew how to play instruments and do all that kind of stuff beforehand. What's the process there, and like what's it like getting all of a sudden in this movie that is full of so many big name people and with so much like cool stuff to do?
So first of all, hi. And also it was really a miracle that happened. I mean, I had never acted before. Like, when I was 4, I started taking classical guitar lessons, and, I was very diligent about practicing and got to this level where I was, asked to be, when I was like 9, I was asked to be on this radio show called From the Top, which was this like NPR classical music showcase for kids who were like really skilled at what they did. And they had me on, and for my, episode, I played a couple songs, I did a little interview, and during the interview, I was like talking about how I had like lost the school spelling bee, and I was really bummed about it. And around that same time, like I think maybe a couple months after that interview was released, casting for School of Rock had started, and the casting director had heard my interview, and they were like, we want that little girl who like played guitar and, lost the spelling bee to come in. And they reached out to my mom and my guitar teacher and sent me the script, or not the whole script, but some of the sides for this like untitled Jack Black project. Like, and I went in, I auditioned, and didn't hear anything for a minute, and then got a call back, went in again, and then like 2 days later found out that I had gotten the job. And then my mom and I flew out to New York and like did this thing, and it was just wild because I don't think I ever thought that could happen to me. I think my parents were like pretty dead set on that happening in almost a toxic way, but we love and celebrate them for that, for their determination. And yeah, it was cool. It was a wild experience. I think a lot of the kids on set, like we were all kind of underdog vibes, and came from that kind of shared experience. And it was nice. It was like having my first like real friends outside of my like siblings and my guitar teacher.
Yeah, I imagine in a movie like that, when it, you're not just like kid one, kid two, that type of role. It's like a bunch of kids together. I assume being with them for that long, like that's, one of your biggest opportunities at that age, especially to make like a real like circle of friends. And
yeah, and we were like, I mean, we were exactly that. Like we were this big unit of like a family. And we all loved each other so much. We were like fully obsessed with each other. Just like, I mean, we spent so much time together, and the moms were their own cast. Like they were just, I mean, it was like a reality show. I would actually watch that reality show of like stage moms on set, like, and the drama and the like, debauchery of that. But it was also nice to see my mom interact with other women, because really she had only been friends with my dad's friends, like and their wives. And it was nice for her to have friends outside of that, too. So I think it was a really big, like a really great experience for both my mom and I. And, also just getting to live that kind of like life where you're taken care of was really cool. Foreign to both of us. My mom grew up really poor. I didn't grow up like poor, but definitely not like wealthy. And so, yeah, it was nice being able to like go to Benihana every night and, see Broadway shows and live that life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also as a 10-year-old going into, like you said, just a completely different situation, like that's got to just be.
It's an odd age, because your mental acuity is like starting to be there. You're starting to be able to process things and understand things. And the mind is still, malleable, and expanding. But you're not yet like, well, I wasn't yet like, going through puberty or anything like that. So I was just like still very innocent and very like, all I had known prior to School of Rock was like guitar lessons and playing with my sisters. There was no like real family drama or anything like that had happened. And then being thrust into a situation in which I am employed, like this is work. Right. I am going to work. And hearing things like per diem and like, talking about taxes and unionizing and stuff like that, like at that age, it very much like gave me, and then when I came back, people started calling me an old soul, because I was like 10 years old and being like, can I have some hot tea, please? Like, like at restaurants and stuff, like drinking tea and just, yeah, I don't know. I came back with this like new kind of perspective on life, that not a lot of kids at my school when I came back, because I went to a public school in like Chicago and like not the best neighborhood. So like, a lot of them just didn't understand, and they took it as an opportunity to like, beat me down and like, be mean and stuff, which is like, it's natural. Kids are assholes. Like, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, sure. All you want.
Okay, cool. And is it okay that I have boobs behind me?
Yeah, no, it's totally cool.
Okay, cool. Yeah, like I don't think I was ready for, the backlash that I would get when I came back. I think I was expecting to come back and be revered as this like superstar, like hero. And like some people were really cool, but for the most part, it was people being like, what, you think you're better than us because you got to go do a little movie?
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I'm 10. Like, this is so bad.
I was going to ask, like, it's got to be such a weird experience, because it's like, you said growing up, you're taking guitar lessons and you're, working on all this stuff, and you're going to auditions and you're on these shows for being, a talented child. And then it's like, you put in all that work and then you get the payoff, which is you get to be in this like major movie. And it's like,
and I didn't know, I don't think any of us really knew how major it was going to be.
Right.
Because
I don't know if anybody at the time I mean, when I saw the movie was getting ready to come out, I was like, oh, that looks like a cool movie. But like, yeah, I don't know if anybody thought a movie about a guy that pretends to be a teacher and then starts a band with a bunch of kids would be so good and turn out to be, do as well as it did.
I mean, it's a classic. I mean, at this point, like, it goes down as one of the, I feel like people quote it so much.
Yeah.
Like, not even when I'm around. Like, I'll see like people say like, oh, you're tacky and I hate you, like to people like, in politics, or like, the meme that keeps on circulating is the one where it's just like, I serve society by rocking. Like, and the iconic Chillo, you got a bass, like, gets quoted at me constantly. I feel like anything I post on social media, even if it's just like me like holding up a tarot card being like, I'm suffering from crippling anxiety and depression right now, that's why I pulled the tower. And then like the first comment is always like, GGG, Katie, I love you, like fucking Cello, you got a bass. And I'm just like but I'm not like ungrateful. I'm and I'm not sick of it. Like, I can never get sick of people coming up to me and telling me how much they love School of Rock, because it's genuinely a good movie. Yeah. Like, if it was something like that I wasn't proud of, like, then I would absolutely just be like sick of it. But since it had such a, it left such an imprint on, culture, I feel like, and it's one of those movies, one of the few movies from the early 2000s that like stands the test of time. Right. Like, a lot of those movies, like from that time, from like 2000 to like 2000, like 12, honestly, like there are some jokes in there that would like never fly. But School of Rock is one of the few that like is timeless, and like nobody's like, ooh, that's problematic, that movie should be canceled. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a very, aside from how good, the music and the people that are in it is, it's a smart movie. It doesn't just rely on a bunch of like dumb jokes and, tacky, like, oh, we got to be out there to make this part funny. It's just genuinely funny. And it just like, yeah, like you said, I mean, it still works today. You could watch it whenever and still be into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So coming off of something like that, and like the stuff that's going on, like, having to deal with these kids when you go back to school, does that like, at that age, does that like motivate you to continue to like be in things? Or does it kind of, I don't know, give you like a weird feeling about like, okay, do I really want to like be in another thing? And then I have to go back to school and the kids are going to act like this. And then like get more, like, every time I get something new, like I have to deal with a new group of kids that are.
That's a really good question. I've never been asked that before. And let me think about what I want to say. Hold on. So, yeah, I think that's a really good question. Wow. I think the thought was, when I got back and started getting all that negative treatment, I was like, oh, I have to book something else so that I never have to go to school again. Right. Like, I would much rather just continue to work and have on-set tutors be my education, and keep auditioning. And what happened was I signed with an agency pretty much right when I got back home. Started going on auditions for things like, s2e1, Unfabulous, like, all of the Nickelodeon and Disney shows, like I almost just said Miley Cyrus, Hannah Montana, the movie Spanglish. I could name a bunch of other things that I auditioned for and did not book. Commercials, voiceover, whatever, and did not book anything. Because, and I think the reason behind it was, my mom and I both were so dead set on me like getting something else, or yeah, what's the next thing? What's the next project? You got to get this role so that you can continue to support us financially. Right. Like, you got to get this role so you can, if you do well at this audition, you get to buy us a house. Like, that kind of attitude around it. And what I've learned, even still as an actor and a performer, is when I make it about the money, when I make it about like the gig, I completely am forgetting that when we're auditioning for movies and TV and like plays and stuff, they're not looking for the person who's right for the job. They're looking for the person who can tell the story.
Yeah.
And all of the technique, all of the story, all of the lines, the magic kind of the story that this writer or author has like put on the page goes out the window when I start to obsess over, this is going to be the thing. This is going to be the thing. Like, I'm going to book this job so I can buy my parents a house. Or now that I'm like financially not enmeshed with my parents anymore, like when I go into an audition thinking like, this is going to get me famous. Like, this is going to be the thing that gets me that verified blue check mark, right? Like, that's when I know I'm for sure not getting it, you know?
Right.
It's like basically, how can I operate from a place of abundance rather than scarcity? And that applies to all areas of my life, to be honest. But I didn't know that then. I was like 11 and was like basically just like saying, you know, okay, mom, yeah, like like every audition that came in, you know, I had to do a good job so I could buy my parents a house rather than,
Right.
Is this something that you're interested in being a part of? Like, and I think the pressure that my mom put on me and that I put on myself to, you know, get those jobs, was debilitating and led me down this spiral of like anxiety. And then, you know, I hit this like awkward phase when I hit puberty, when I like was like taller than all of the girls in my age range, but still too young to play a teenager.
Yeah.
And so basically I was not of use to Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that does something to a girl's self-esteem, honey. Like,
I can
it
imagine.
fucked me up. I mean, I was severely like anorexic and went through just like debilitating depression and fear and anxiety around work and that stuff for so long that I was just like, yeah, I think I just want to do what makes me happy, which at the time it was like musicals and like theater that were just like at my school, you know? And this was like a new school. I transferred after 6th grade, which was the year I came back after School of Rock. And I transferred because the bullying was too much and some like creep came to my school and tried to stalk me, and nothing was done about it. So we just switched schools to a smaller like private Catholic school, and there were like 25 kids in my class, and it was it was just like a better experience, to just feel safer. Nobody made fun of my clothes because we all had uniforms. It was great.
Yeah, that's I think that's another thing that if you look for it, I guess you can find out about it, but I feel like that's got to be a thing that's also another hard thing about being a young female actor, because it's like there are, you know, you can be, it seems like you can be a boy child actor and kind of like, regardless of your size, there's some goofy thing they can put you in. Regardless of how you look, they can make you like, you know, this kid at school. But for, you know, females, it's like, you really have to have like, at certain ages, you have to have the look and you have to have the body type for this particular thing.
Well, I don't have to have anything, but Hollywood makes us think, right?
Well,
like,
right, yeah.
I want to, you know, let's be real and let's, you know, be honest here. Like, it's, you know, nothing, you know, is the fault of the young girls who are just growing up and looking the way they are. It's really the male lens of like, you know, of Hollywood and the look, like, you know, and that, I mean, it's getting slightly better, I guess, now. Like, we're seeing real people tell stories, like, and not everybody looks like, I mean, for me, I know there are some issues with her, but like Lena Dunham, seeing her in Girls when I was in college was really helpful because I was seeing kind of a thicker girl with tattoos and like cellulite, like being sexy and like not playing just like the chubby, like dumpling girl, like role on TV. She was like the protagonist of this story, and she was like, you know, out there hooking up with like Adam Driver, who's like the most attractive man on earth, like, you know, and seeing that, I was just like, oh, this gives me some hope that like Hollywood is going in like a better direction, you know?
Yeah.
But then I think we backslid a little bit with Euphoria, with all of them just looking so like perfectly hot. And yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like, yeah, it's like you were saying, it's all depending on like, you know, what the Hollywood view of what, you know, a young lady or a woman should look like in these things. And I feel like, especially in like the late 90s and the earlier part of the 2000s, there was a lot of like just blatant, like if you're not, you know, you have this exact look with this exact body, you're not getting one of the lead roles. You can be like the goofy sidekick or like the girl.
Which is why Jack Black was so revolutionary too, like for, you know, him playing the love interest in Shallow Hal, and you know, also The Holiday, and like not being boxed into this. And I think he has a monologue in School of Rock about this. He's like, because I'm chubby and sexy. Like, right. And that's true of him. Like he is a very like magnetic personality, and like that, you know, but of course it's like he's a man. So like, you know, like we have Melissa McCarthy, we have Rebel Wilson, and like, you know, a couple of other thicker, like, you know, and actresses of size, right? But it's still like, I don't know. I feel like we could totally have like an hour-long discourse about Hollywood beauty standards and how much I hate them and how much they suck and how, you know, resentful I am of them. But like, I think all we can really do is just continue to talk about that and what I can do is write stories in which, you know, people who look like people and not like models, like, you know, can be, you know, the main character, and that everybody can play the like romantic lead regardless of what their body or face looks like.
Yeah. Well, and I think that also is like there's such a platform now for, I mean, obviously, you know, at times it's not the big productions or whatever, but like with everything going on with social media and YouTube and TikTok and Instagram, like there's so much more of a way for, you know, people to be seen regardless of how they look, you know, what, you know, the vast differences they have that might not, you know, give them opportunities to be in, you know, the big time Hollywood movies where they can go out there and do their thing and be recognized and be seen by people. And like, I feel like that's leading to more people kind of seeing that like, okay, you know what, it's okay to put, you know, this type of person in this role or put this type of person on a show and do this thing, as opposed to just like kind of this same thing that we've seen for, I don't know, however many years now.
I mean, over a century at this point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically. I mean, I'm glad to see we're at a point where there's a lot of different, you know, people being featured as opposed to just the same thing over and over and over again, like it was at one point.
Exactly.
But yeah, and so as you're getting older, like you said, you had to switch schools a couple of times. Like at what point do you kind of just get to settle in and be you as a person and like get to a point where it's not overwhelmingly, you know, people coming at you going, oh, you're the girl from school, right? You're the girl from, you did that thing. And then here's lines from the movie and blah, blah, blah. Like, did you ever get to a point before you just, you know, became an adult and were kind of just able to do whatever, that you actually were like, okay, cool. Like I've hit that point where I can just go to school and relax and talk to people.
Yeah. I think it was around my senior year of high school. Sucks that it took 8 years, but you know, that's how it worked. And even in my senior year of high school, there were still people, you know, I think honestly, wherever I go, that since that was the first and, you know, to date is the like most, you know, worldly acclaimed thing that I've been a part of, like, you know, that will always be what people like know me from until something else happens, if that's like in the cards for me, like, you know. But you know, my senior year of high school, I transferred schools so many times between School of Rock and my senior year of high school. Like, I went to Pritzker, elementary, to Mount Carmel, which was the Catholic school. And then for high school, I went to St. Ignatius for 2 years, which is this like very like, it looks like Hogwarts. It's a very like prestigious, like rich college prep in Chicago where I was on a scholarship for being POC. And like, there was like, a very elitist, like classist stink at that school. And, there I did some plays and musicals and really got, fell in love with musical theater. I did Sweeney Todd and it was just like game over. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to be on Broadway. And did that. But then also around that time, I was starting to get into drinking and using drugs and stuff like that. And then like acting out and being hypersexual because I was over-sexualized when I was, in the movie by like disgusting fucking men on the internet. And then, after 2 years at that school, even with the scholarship, we couldn't swing it. Like, we couldn't afford it. It was around the time the recession hit and like my parents were really struggling. And so we moved to a different school, a different Catholic school, where basically like I started dating like the school drug dealer and like it just was like downhill from there, and I left that school and then transferred to a public school that had a really strong like performing arts program in which I was able to do choir and plays and musicals and stuff and really get invested in singing. And so, people from the movie know me as a bassist who had 5 lines, but I'm actually like the second to being an actor, I'm a singer. Yeah. And like being in choir and being able to nurture that like part of my craft and being able to sing and be with a bunch of other kids who just like genuinely loved singing, like, and were nerdy too and like kind of underdogish. It kind of felt like I was back on set because all of us had that shared love of music. We were all, pretty misfit. And I love the word misfit because it kind of signifies like somebody who missed fitting in. Yeah. And like, I felt I had a really strong group of friends at my high school that I went to for my senior year. I was able to come out like as queer because I was going to Catholic school before. And I was like, I don't know, like, I don't feel comfortable like sharing this, with these people because of the religious, stuff. And then I was able to be more free. And then going to college, I went to theater school where I was just doing like acting and being again in that ensemble of people who have that shared passion for this thing in common, right? And finding that sense of freedom and that sense of play, like, at theater school was just really cool. And it's like, yeah, whenever I was living in the dorms, it was really hard because people would, follow me down the hallways and be like, cello. And I really didn't want that. So I moved out of the dorms and stayed home with my parents, ended up saving a bunch of money, like, and preventing them from going even further into debt. Like, and, started playing in a band again, like, and found this freedom. I was still like heavily drinking and using and stuff and being really, irresponsible, like with relationships, but I was finding that sense of like, I'm not a misfit anymore. I have this ensemble. I have this like family, a dysfunctional family of like fellow nerds, like, who just really love theater, and really love acting. So yeah, that's when I found it for the first time since School of Rock. Right. Yeah. And I continued to like search for that, over and over. When theater school was done, I went into the improv community in Chicago, again, another place where I felt like we're all nerds and we're all like, there was cliques within the theater scene and theater school, and there were cliques within the comedy scene in Chicago. And I started feeling this sense of like, oh, I'm still on the outside of this. I'm still a misfit in this community that is supposed to be like welcoming and inclusive and open, to all people. There's still barriers to, people of color and queer people within this like community. And through Second City, I got to do this diversity showcase, which was really cool, and met a bunch of like other BIPOC comedians and writers and performers. And I was always really good at, and I'm still really good at like finding my band, within a container of like a community.
Well, yeah, and so all that leading up to, like you said, the Second City stuff. Like I went and I watched some of your performances there, and like, what's the feeling between like going from this life of trying to book auditions and doing musicals and stuff, from going from that to now you're just getting able to do your own material and your own stuff that you've made and go out and perform in front of people, as opposed to like sitting around like, going and hoping you can get this role, as opposed to just knowing I get to go out here, I get to say what I want to say, I get to perform how I want to perform. Like how was that for you after so many years of having to like deal with all the other type of stuff?
Well, I never stopped acting. I never when I was in school for theater, I was like doing the plays there and auditioning for stuff outside of school too, and like doing professional like plays and musicals in Chicago.
Yeah.
And while I was, it was weird. Like the year after I graduated college, I kind of just was like, I'm going to do everything. I want to do musicals. I want to do improv. I want to do musical improv. I want to do stand-up. I want to do sketch. I wanted to do everything. And, and still audition for like TV stuff. And because when I graduated college, I got a new agent and, kind of took my career away from my mom, which was nice because I was like an adult at that point. Started auditioning for, local theater and, film and TV stuff, getting callbacks and having these occasional like industrial gigs or commercials or whatever.
Right.
And I had booked this production of American Idiot, which is the Green Day musical.
Yeah.
Really fun. It was really cool. And around that same time, I had just graduated from Bob Curry, which is the diversity showcase at Second City. And I was doing American Idiot, and I had been doing musical improv for a while. And I was just like, why don't I blend like the musical improv training with the like songwriting that I already have from being in bands and from like writing my own stuff, and write musical comedy. And so I started performing at these like underground, like, DIY shows or open mics where I would just get like 3 minutes to do whatever I wanted. And within that container, I would like, show either a new song or like 30-second clips of songs in progress. And on one night, I'll never forget this night, I just was like asked to do a performance at the Shithole, which is this Chicago darling. It's just such a great show. It takes place in an attic in like this neighborhood in Chicago called Avondale. A lot of like, bearded, tattooed improv guys and like, cool, like skinny, hipster girls, and like everyone's drinking PBR and in somebody's attic and smoking cigarettes in the backyard. And I had booked a slot at that show, and I was just like, I don't want to do any of my old stuff. Like I want to like write something new for tonight's show at the Shithole. So I think I'd like smoked a bowl or something, and I was just like jamming these like kind of dark chords and whatever. And then I just started like humming this melody that was like, dun, 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 dun. And I was like, this is so catchy. Like, what are the words? And I just had like filler words that it was like, he licked my butt. Yes, I said, but like, and with like, and then it became the song. Like that became the song, was like about getting my butt licked. Like, and
which I think is the inspiration for most great songs.
What?
So, which I think is the inspiration for most great songs.
Definitely, yeah. So, And I remember I was playing it in the living room. I was living with another like improv person, and he was just like, "What are you playing?" And I was just like, "I don't know. It's like a new thing. Like, check it out." And he was just like, "I think it'd be so funny if you like got the audience to like sing along with you and have it be kind of like a call and response thing." Yeah. So in that song, I do this like, depending on the room I was playing in, I'd be like, if you identify as being on this side of the room, sing with me. And I do this like thing, and then I do a harmony over that, and I have them all sing Lick My Butt, basically. And that became kind of my piece. That was my song, was Butthole. And I, went from being like, oh, she's like the one who was in School of Rock and she like plays guitar and does her little songs or ukulele or whatever, to being like, oh, Butthole Girl. Like, and I was just like, hey, I'm fine being Butthole Girl as long as it's not, oh, that girl from School of Rock. Like, yeah,
I was going to say, after so many years of being School of Rock girl, Butthole Girl it's a nice thing. Yeah.
And yeah, and then that led to me, I remember inspiration strikes at random times. I would be like at work at my like side job at working at a bar, just like as a hostess, and I'd be like sitting at the host stand, like kind of, when it was like a dead period and like, or whatever, people were like leaving and it was starting to be slow, and I would just sit there writing little stupid songs. I'd be just sitting there like at the host stand, be like, I was the one that clogged your toilet. Ooh, that's so funny. And then people being like, what are you fucking doing? But a lot of my best work, was written while I was at that host stand, just doing nothing. I should have probably been folding t-shirts or, counting whatever, but like.
Yeah, no, I think that song is actually, that's one of the ones that I saw when I was going back and looking at some of your, live stuff. And yeah, no, we were watching a few of those, and they were really funny. They're just really great songs for, doing a stand-up and comedy type thing. Have you been able to find anything that's kind of like, now since you've moved to LA, like, have you found that your band, so to speak, there, or is it still, a process of like, because LA is a whole different animal than, just about anything.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, I came out here in January 2020. It's a long story. I've been back and forth between here in LA and like Chicago, and occasionally like a sprinkling of New York, from like 2017 to January of 2020, I was like back and forth pretty consistently, finding little bands in other places. And, I did a play out here in 2017, and that was my band for a minute, but I didn't like, I can't say that they were my band because I didn't really feel like a super strong connection with them, because it was like my first time out here, like as an adult. And I was like, what is this place? Like, why is it so weird? And why does everybody just ask you who you are rather than how you are? And like, I was bottoming out as an addict too. I was like drinking very heavily and doing a lot of like, hard drugs at that time when I first moved out here. And I knew I was like on my way to like putting that stuff down when I was in my bottom. I was just like, really like just letting that play out as long as I could before I was like, okay, I'm dying. Like, I need to stop. And, it's wild because through the like recovery community, I've actually found the best band ever. Just a band of like former poster children of destruction who are all just like healthy now, which is beautiful. And I'm realizing now as I'm saying this, like my entire life, I've been looking for that like permanent connection, that like permanent band. And it's like, wherever I go, like, I was in the UK, not last Christmas, but the one in 2019, for Christmas. And I was just like, I don't, I want to check out like what the, recovery community out here in England is like. And I went with my partner to like a recovery meeting out there. And I was just like, different people. I've never met any of these people in my life, but we're all saying the same stuff. We all have this shared language of like sobriety and, the language of the heart, as they say. And, yeah, it's just that's the magic of that, of recovery, is that we all kind of have that shared experience and the unity of like, we hit a bottom and now we're completely different. Like we just act differently.
Right.
And it's a really supportive community, which is what I was always looking for. It's like, no matter where I go, in New Orleans, Austin, like I've been to, meetings in Indianapolis in the middle of like Hicktown, Indiana, and like still gotten something out of that,
Yeah.
But yeah, I moved here permanently in January of 2020, and like had about a month or two of like normal life, and then quarantine happened and now everything's virtual. So I mean, I've got my like, my close circle of friends who live out here, most of whom are, other comedians who have moved from Chicago to LA, or actors, which is funny how like, even though I've escaped Chicago, I haven't really escaped Chicago because all of my friends out here are like people who I knew from Second City, or like theater, community. But yeah, I feel like there are members from each of the bands that I've been in that have like stuck around. Some have fallen off, but from I mean, School of Rock, the original band, right? Like we're all still tight. We have a group text. I had a little reunion last night on my Instagram live with Kevin Clark, who plays Freddie in the movie, the drummer. And we're planning a little virtual like Zoom reunion just for us, like coming up at the end of the month, just for us to like hang out and catch up because we haven't seen each other in a while. And then like, I still have like a couple close friends from theater school, from high school, from Second City, from the improv community, from some of the plays that I've done. But ultimately, like I now realize that it's like so cheesy. It's like, what if the real quarantine was the friends we made? Like, I've through quarantine, like found some really deep connections with people like virtually through, Zoom meetings and Zoom tarot sessions and, this, online community that I'm a part of. That's like a bunch of other people who are intuitive, like entrepreneurs and business owners. That is really cool. And yeah, it's all just for the sake of like deep connections with like-minded individuals,
So what I originally reached out to you was on TikTok. You were doing a live thing on there and I got a hold of you. I was watching some of your stuff just like last night and today to kind of like get back into this. And I was like, this is really good. Like it's like I'm genuinely entertained here. It's like, what is that? What is that? Especially during, during all the COVID stuff, like, I mean, like, does something just like come into your head and then you go like, this is worth sharing with people, and then like you make it and then you just kind of go like that's your creative outlet when
TikTok has been cool. I genuinely love TikTok. I have a really good time on there. Again, I feel like my community on there is very like LGBTQ, so I tailor to that. But I also love like, telling stories from, School of Rock and whatever, because I know it's just like, it brings a lot of people to my page, and then it opens them up to seeing like, oh, she's not just the kid from The Thing, like, she's also an advocate and she's also hilarious and very talented and, wise and witchy and I love my lives on TikTok because I get to read tarot, which is really fun. I love going live and just like answering questions that people write in the little comments and, talking about whatever. I do little, rituals on there. Sometimes I'll like, it's so funny because I have a friend who's not into that at all. Like she's not really into the like witchy realm or the spiritual like realm, and she calls them seances. And she's like, "Are you going to do in your live seances?" I'm like, "It's not a seance. I'm like not inviting anything in like from the underworld or anything like that." But I'll sometimes just come on and like talk about meditation, or come on and talk about spirituality, or show people my tattoos or like whatever. and it's just I feel like it's a safe. I mean, the internet is not a safe place, but TikTok for me has been a safe place for me to explore, express, enlighten, educate, and encourage, like, the Gen Zs and the millennials and everybody that's on the app, and kind of just like talk about where I'm at,
Yeah. And well, and with all that, without everything, because there's so many different aspects of the stuff you put out. It's not just like, here's the same, linear type of thing where it's just like, oh, it's another one of those videos. Like, do you feel like that helps you stay as as an actor and a singer and all that? Do you feel like that helps you like stay sharp and better prepared for when you actually get to go to
back? Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know what's on trend because my For You page is very much like a good blend of like, I get a lot of the cooking videos, and every time like a cute animal video pops up, I try to like that to bring more of that to the For You page, because in the middle of all of the like political stuff that I'm seeing and a lot of the, depression and anxiety content that I'm seeing, which is helpful because it makes me feel less alone when people are like,
yeah,
any other anxious people feel this way? And I'm like, yes, I do. But like, I feel like there's also like, I'm always like seeing like what is the trend, like what the trends are.
right.
And so I'm able to like stay on top of like pop culture and also know like what is, what's on topic. So like when I do, if I do decide to go back to stand up, which I'm honestly, I'm of two minds about it, because I was getting to a point with stand up where I was like, oh, I don't feel like this is authentic anymore, because I'm getting on stage and telling these self-deprecating jokes that are not aligned with how I actually feel about myself.
Right.
And I've been kind of on hiatus from that since COVID started. But I don't know. It's definitely giving me new material. It's definitely giving me inspiration. I have a bunch of saved audios like in my little library for like, if I'm ever like, I feel like I want to make a TikTok, but I don't know like where to pull from for it. I can go back to my little like library of saved audios, or like, trends that I wanted to, maybe take my own spin at, and keep things fresh. I think that what I am venturing into now is creating a podcast where I bring on, other people who have started in the showbiz industry young and seeing what they're up to now, and doing it from a more empathic place, rather than it being like somebody who doesn't have that same experience and, being like, so, what is it like now? Like, like, where are you, but being like, how is your soul? How did this affect your soul? And, hopefully, they will feel less alone. I will feel less alone, and the listeners will get, entertainment out of it from not only the nostalgia of like whatever, guest I bring on or whatever, but also just like more empathy around like what kid actors and kid performers like go through.
Yeah. No, and I think that's and then that's currently going on, or that's coming soon?
It's in the works.
Okay. Well, I'll be definitely sure to check that out, because I mean, and that's like why we tried to ask you about, the growing up and dealing with this and how it affected you in all these different ways, because, it's like I said, usually we don't get a lot of the story until something drastic happens. It's never like, hey, like this kid's been acting for a few years now, and when they're not in something, it's just like a miserable experience and they have to deal with all this stuff. And, there's not a lot of insight into the actual like workings of, being a child actor and then having to deal with that and go forward. So we'll definitely be sure to check that out when it becomes available. Well, there it is. Well, once again, we've said it all. We very much appreciate having you on. It was just a lovely chance to chat with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to go ahead and plug any of your, socials or anything you want people to see or go see you on, like feel free.
Yeah. Go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. My handle is Rivkah.Reyes. And then my website is rivkahreyes.com if you're interested in getting like a tarot reading or just seeing more of my resume or, my work. I have a movie coming out at the end of this month called Bad Animal. You can follow Bad Animal Film on Instagram for more updates and info on that and like where you'll be able to see it. I play a music producer in Chicago, pretty close to home. No pun intended. And yeah, that's really it. I love TikTok. I go live every once in a while on TikTok and Insta and do little tarot readings, and it's a good time.
And there you go. Well, everybody go follow her. Go see everything that's happening. Check out the movie. We'll try to put, words up here at the end for everybody can check it out. And and we hope that, it all works out and things just keep going for you in the future.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much once again. And everybody, we will be back after this. Well, ladies and gentlemen, there it is.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it was a great interview.
That's some heavy stuff.
It is, yeah. I mean, like I said before, you really don't fully understand what these kids have to go through. A lot of people think that it's just this great setup you get at a young age and then you're set for the rest of your life. A lot of people don't realize that there's just so many different ins and outs, whether it be personal, professional, all that
all
stuff.
Of it, right. They're just human beings like the rest of us, and they happen to experience a level of celebrity at a young age, and that comes with a lot of positives and sometimes some negatives and some complications that we can't really understand.
And also, just because you get, sometimes people think, oh, this child or this teenager or whatever is in, a movie or TV, they're set. The sky's the limit. But for a lot of these people, it's rough and it's a tough journey to stay in that in that area.
Not everyone's making Tom Hanks money.
They're not.
No.
I mean, besides me.
Right. Hey.
We'll talk about that later. Oh. You're making Rita Wilson money. All right. Well, thank you all for stopping in. We'll have more episodes coming to you soon.
Look forward to it.
It should be fun, Byron. Welcome back. Here we are.
I'm delighted to be here in the studio.
Watch this. You guys have never seen this on the show before.
Great. Season 2. Here we are.
And
ready to roll.
More to come. Can't wait for y'all to join in on this journey with us. And until next time, I can't really do it, but
as we always say here at the show.